think most people misunderstand investing. They spend years looking for the next company that's going to make them rich, when I actually think the most valuable asset isn't a stock at all. It's something everyone already has: time. And the strange thing is, once you understand why time matters, you stop looking at investing in quite the same way. Because sometimes, the biggest difference between two people isn't intelligence, it isn't luck, it isn't even how much money they start with. It's simply how long they're able to let good decisions work. Just before we get into it, this video is for educational purposes only. It's not financial advice, and if you're making financial decisions, you should do your own research and consider your own circumstances. I've always believed that if you consistently put time into something, eventually you get something back. At school, it was revising before exams. At work, it's learning new skills, taking on more responsibilities, and hopefully earning that next promotion. Even in games, nobody loads into a game and unlocks everything on day one. Or maybe they do. But you put the hours in because you know the rewards come later. We've all experienced that feeling where time eventually pays off. It wasn't until I started learning about investing that I realised time isn't just something you spend. It can actually become one of your biggest assets. So why am I saying time is an asset? It all comes down to one idea: compounding. Let's forget investing for a minute. Imagine you lend one of your mates $100. You agree they'll owe you an extra 10% for every year they keep your money. After 1 year, they owe you $110. So far, that's pretty straightforward. Here's where it gets interesting. If they still haven't paid you back after another year, they don't owe you another $10, they owe you $121. That's because they're now paying 10% on the $110, not just the original $100. Now imagine they somehow still haven't paid you back after 30 years. Firstly, they're probably not much of a mate anymore. But secondly, that original $100 has now become roughly $1,745. Nothing magical has happened. The percentage never changed. The only thing that changed was time. And that's what compounding is. Growth, building on previous growth, again and again and again. Time starts doing most of the heavy lifting. Of course, in the real world, your mates probably aren't going to agree to pay you compound interest for 30 years. So where do people actually see this idea in practice? One place people often look is the stock market. Not because it guarantees anything, but because it provides a useful way of understanding how compounding can work over long periods. Now, you might be sat there thinking, this guy doesn't exactly sound like he's been investing for 40 years. And you'd be right. But that's the beauty of history. We don't have to rely on my experience. We can look at examples that are played out over decades. One example people often use is the S&P 500. For anyone who's never heard of it before, it's an index that tracks around 500 of the largest publicly listed companies in the United States. Rather than looking at one company, it gives a broader picture of a large part of the US stock market. Now here's what's interesting. If you zoom in on a single year, the picture can look completely different. Some years have delivered strong positive returns, other years have seen significant declines. But when people zoom out and look across decades, instead of individual years, the conversation changes. It stops becoming, what happened this year? And starts becoming, what happened over a long period of time? That's really the point I'm trying to make. Compounding sounds like a maths lesson, but really, it's a lesson in patience. At the beginning of this video, I said I think people misunderstand investing. I still believe that. People spend years searching for the perfect investment, the perfect company, the perfect moment, when they often overlook the one thing that's impossible to replace: time. Whether it's learning a new skill, building a career, improving at a game, or understanding how compounding works, time is one of the few assets that becomes more valuable the earlier you put it to work. You don't have to predict the future to appreciate that. Sometimes the best decision isn't finding something extraordinary, it's simply giving a good decision enough time to work. Because in the end, it's not about timing, it's about time.